Okay, hello, welcome. Yay, a round of applause. Okay, so today we have an extremely special guest. How to intro how to intro Rita. So I'll let Rita introduce herself, but Rita to me is one of my oldest and dearest friends. She is somebody that I go to on a regular basis when I'm hungry, mad, having a good time, or just need advice on anything. She's really near and dear to my heart. And then Rita also is a content creator. She goes by Saturday Table. And so we're really, really happy to have her on today. And so, Rita, before you introduce yourself and we go through the whole rigmarole, tell us what you're drinking and what you're eating today.
Okay. I am drinking a grapefruit margarita because there's nothing like a
Ooh.
marg at 1 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. And I'm eating some chips, some tortilla chips.
Oh,
That's
perfect.
very boring chips, but that's what I had.
But it's a good pair with the
Nice.
margarita.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
need some guac too.
I can go next.
Yeah, Christine, just go next.
I haven't opened my beverage yet. I'm waiting to do this ASMR with you guys. So this is ginger lemon probiotic sparkling soda from Trader
Ooh.
Joe's. So we're gonna
Yum.
got that. And then I'm gonna mix it with
Ugh.
a little bit of for having margaritas, there's some mezcal here too. So here's the
Ooh.
Yum.
Oh,
Oh
that was
my
a nice
gosh.
pour
sound.
Wow.
and then concoct that. And then for snacks, I am having olives.
Wow. This is like slowly turning into an ASMR channel.
Yeah.
So there's a little bug in my drink. Love
Uh-oh.
that. Real protein, yeah. I got some manchego cheese olives and some hummus too.
Mm. I'm drinking this Zarello. It's a like Spanish white. It's called Blanc Sense Papers. It's very, very good. I guess we can share, Rita, like later
Mhm.
why I'm drinking this wine. But yes, I'm just enjoying this wine with a little bit of parm.
Oh,
Yum.
nice.
Yummy.
Some cheese. I have got also a Trader Joe's sparkling beverage, the sparkling strawberry juice. Um, I am I'm doing sans alcohol tonight because I have a really hard marathon training workout tomorrow morning. So that is what just soda for me.
Good for you. Good for
And
you.
yeah, I'm sure I'll be really happy tomorrow morning while I'm working out. For my snack, I have chips and salsa. So
Oh,
I'm chippy
Yay.
buddies with Rita.
very good.
But yeah, so I guess I'll share the topic today. And we're really excited to have Rita on for this one. We all know 2023 was like year of Barbie, and there was a lot of conversation around that whole speech that America Ferrera does in the movie. And
Mhm.
so we want to talk a bit about that, like all the different expectations of women, whether we're career women or mothers or neither or all. So that's what our conversation is going to be today. So with that, let's go to Ircha and we can get started.
Oh,
Cheers.
cheers.
So for this round, actually, we're just gonna get to know Rita a bit. So now I think, Rita, we'd love for you to introduce yourself. Just tell us a bit about yourself, about Saturday Table, and we also have some rapid fire questions for you after. So
Well,
get ready.
nervous.
It's
Well, I'm Rita, and I am a content creator, like you said, in LA. I run Saturday Table, which is mostly a food Instagram channel, and I have a Substack to go along with it. I set out a newsletter where I'm just sharing things I'm cooking, recipes, meal inspiration, cocktails every now and then, sometimes wine, sometimes a little bit about me. But outside of social media, I am a mother to an almost 3-year-old little girl who I love so much, Sasha. And I do copywriting freelance, which is what I did full time before I had a kid, in addition to content creation, which I also do for some clients. So it's not just only the stuff I post on my channel. I do some content creation for a few clients to post on theirs. And yeah, what else is there to say about me? I don't know.
Where did you and Megan meet? Like, you guys are not
Yes.
in the same city now. So, like, where are you based?
So I know Megan from like what feels like the womb.
Aw.
I always call her my Korean sister, and I'm her Armenian sister. And I don't know, we met in middle school, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, yeah, middle school. We both went to
Yeah.
Wilson in Glendale, and we were in choir together.
That's right. Literally, we were
Gosh.
in choir from like middle school all the way through
High school.
to the end of high school.
Like, for
Yeah,
Are you
6
gonna,
years.
really
are you
big.
gonna
I
sing
didn't
us a
know
little
that.
duet
Yeah.
today?
Yeah, we actually prepared
Yeah,
one.
exactly. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Wade
I was like,
in
where's she gonna
the
go? Oh,
water.
wade in the water. Great.
Yeah. Like Rita lived in, and then you went to New York
I moved
for
to New
school.
York
Oh yeah,
for
that's where I
school,
first met
upstate New York.
Rita.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
And then, yeah, I was in Syracuse for college. And then after Syracuse, I moved back to LA for like a couple months. And then I moved to New York City, and I was there for a while, for like 5 years almost, before I moved back to LA. And now I'm in LA again. Yeah.
And then the second she moved to LA, I moved out,
I know.
which was great.
You moved to Seattle the second I got here, and we've been like
Right.
in opposite
Long
places
distance
pretty much since
ever
high school.
since.
I know.
Now
Yeah.
at least you're both in California, at least.
I know. Same
True.
time zone,
Very true.
same state.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
NorCal and SoCal are basically different states, so they're
True.
far enough.
True.
It's true. It's very, very true.
Actually, that in 2015 was when Christine moved to New York, and then Olivia and I were visiting New York. So we were hanging out with Christine, and then Megan was also Megan happened to also be visiting and celebrating her birthday. So then I was hanging out with Olivia and Christine, and then I left to go hang out with Megan for dinner, and then that's where I met Rita for the first time.
Yes,
Oh
we were at that
right.
restaurant downtown. I can't even remember what it
Yeah.
was called, but I remember what it
don't
looked
remember
like.
what it was called.
Yeah, I remember there
Yeah.
was
Oh my gosh.
artichokes.
We have a photo. We have a
Yes.
photo
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
That
God.
is
But like 10 years
so
later,
cute.
look
All
at us
coming full
now.
I know.
I know.
Wild. I love it.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay, so
So
we got
funny.
some rapid fire questions for you,
Yeah.
Rita.
Give
Okay,
'em
well,
to me.
first one, I feel like either it's going to be really easy or really hard for you to
Mm.
choose. Your favorite snack.
Okay. It like really depends on what the time of day is and like what I'm doing. Like, am I just hungry between lunch and dinner on like a random weekday, or am I like having a snack? Because yeah, if I'm just like hungry during the week, it's probably just like I'm gonna have like a couple potato chips is like one of my top foods ever, and like potato
Mhm.
chips for sure, or like nuts or something, which is so boring. But if it's like a weekend and I'm trying to have like a spread for a snack, a little snack dinner situation, it'll be more like some chips and some cheese and some olives, maybe some like cured meats. That's like more of a meal
And
though.
I feel
That's
like
not a snack.
you do
It's like girl
you do a
dinner.
lot of like fresh
Girl
yeah,
dinner,
you do a
yeah.
lot of like fresh veggies and like crudité and
And
stuff.
like
which
Yeah.
I feel like
dips.
is
Like
always
the dips
good.
I
and
love a
Yeah,
good
the
dip.
dips.
Yeah.
I love a good
Ugh,
dip. Yeah.
so good.
I just love like like having a nice spread and a drink.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's samcha,
yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had this
Okay.
question on here that was, what's your favorite time of day? So I know that, Rita, you are Saturday table and you cook like
Mhm.
it's the weekend, but if you were to take any day of the week and the time of day in that week that's your favorite time of the day during a
Mm.
week, like what is that moment for you?
It's probably either early morning when I can force myself to get up and I have just like some spare time to be alone. I just love that, like the quiet of morning with a cup of coffee and like I'll read or I'll journal, and it's just a nice moment of solitude before the day begins. But that doesn't happen every day, or it doesn't happen very often at all. I love like on the weekends, just the afternoon, the like early evening, late afternoon time when it's just like feels like very chill and like you can have a glass of wine and maybe like read and like I'll hang out with my husband and with Sasha and we'll do something and I love that time of day.
Love that. Okay,
Oh,
It's so
so
that's
relaxed.
a good one.
yeah.
That's a good one because it's like the time of day that's your favorite is like the time of day where it's appropriate for you to like open up a bottle of wine
Yeah.
and not feel like a complete degenerate.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a really good one.
I like that.
So I think I know the answer to this, but where would you live in the world, if not LA?
Probably we talk about all the time about moving to like the Italian countryside.
Yeah.
But it's just not
Yeah.
a realistic, but it's a dream for sure. We stayed in Tuscany last year for a month. We did 3 months in Europe. Um, it was like one of those things that Dennis and I talk about constantly. Like one day when we're retired, when the kids are in college, we'll go and do this. And then we were kind of just like, well, one day we might be dead. And like, I know that's so morbid, but it was just kind of like, why are we like waiting to do this thing when we can do it now? And we were in a really good situation in that we were both freelancing at the time. I was doing what I'm doing. He has his accounting business. And so we were like, well, we can do this from wherever. And so we just like dipped into our savings a little bit and did it. And it was
Amazing.
awesome. And yeah, I love that part of the world, but I don't know if we'll ever actually live there.
Yes, we're always like sending each other like random photos or like Redfin. Oh no,
yeah.
Redfin is not a thing, but like
Look at this like chateau that's for sale.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Or like it's in LA, it looks like a chateau, costs like $6 million, and then I'm like complaining about like a bathroom. Like this bathroom is hideous, but like
look at these
here
curtains.
it
Why would they
is.
do that?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I do the same thing. I'm always looking at property over there and it's just like, but also you can get like a literal mansion for $1 million there, which $1 million is not a small amount of money, but that's like the bare minimum for a house in LA.
Yeah.
And for a house in
Correct.
LA for $1 million, it's like,
Let's do one more rapid fire. What is your Roman Empire? Thing you just
okay.
a random thing you think about multiple times a day.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't even actually know what that is. I know everybody
Yeah.
talks about it, and I'm just like, what is that? The random thing I think about multiple times a day.
That has like no relation to you.
I don't even know.
I think for me,
What would
I don't
mine be?
know. I feel like I think about Titanic a lot. Not every day though.
The movie or the ship?
Like both. Yeah. And also how like historically accurate James Cameron made the movie and like all of those things. I think about that.
That's amazing. Okay.
That's so funny. What would mine be? I mean, a really obvious thing would be like food. Like I definitely think about food all day, every day. Like, what am I eating next? What am I making? What am I getting at the grocery store? Like it like revolves around that. But something really random, I definitely think about dogs like multiple times a day. But like whether it be like Milo or like I'm like volunteering at a like senior dog rescue like across the street here in the city, and like
That's
I have an
cute.
app where I know it's like the cutest thing ever, but like I have an app where all the volunteers can see all the dogs. Like I'm literally on there like 25 times a day just like looking at these dogs. So I guess that's something I think about multiple times a day.
I think about the movie Frozen a lot, not to like copy Christina and the movie front, but Sasha is obsessed and I like wake up with the song stuck in my head. Like the outtake songs that didn't even make it to the movie and are just like on the soundtrack. I wake up with those stuck in my head.
God.
I think about
So
Frozen a lot.
sing us a piece.
Absolutely not.
That was a very fun round of rapid fire with Rita. Now we're going to go into Icha, so we will cheers to that.
Cheers.
So Christina, at the beginning of Icha, or Yurcha, she was talking about the scene in Barbie with America Ferrera. And in Icha, we wanted to talk about all dimensions of you, Rita. You are a career woman, you are a working mom, you're also a stay-at-home mom. You've also navigated different transitions throughout your career. And so I think our first question is, how does working as a content creator and freelancer compare to working like a full-time job as a copywriter?
I would say that I get to like pick and choose. Like the first thing that stands out is that I get to pick and choose what I work on. So when I was working at an agency as a copywriter, it was kind of just like whatever the owners of the agency decided we were going to work on, that's what we were going to work on. And sometimes it was like, hadn't, just it was either repetitive of what we were doing, or it was just so out of left field where I felt like I was talking to a consumer who I didn't really know. And now I can kind of pick and choose. So if someone comes to me and they're like, we're targeting, on the copywriting side, we're targeting, a 50-year-old male. I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm perhaps the best copywriter for this job because I am not a 50-year-old male. And I've said this before to clients, for a variety of reasons that they want me to kind of use a voice that I'm like, I don't really have any relation to that customer to speak to that. So I can kind of pick and choose in that way. And same with content creation. I work with a lot of brands that I love, that I already am using, or that maybe are being introduced to me for the first time, but that I am really starting to love. And it's just so cool to work with the food and the drinks and stuff like that. So that's fun. Making your own hours is fun, but it's also not fun because like, if you're working full time and you don't finish something on Wednesday and it's due on Thursday, you come in the next day and you work on it in the morning, whatever, maybe your boss gives you an extension. But like, at least for me, if I have a deadline on Thursday and it's Wednesday at, 11 p.m. and Sasha finally went to sleep, and so then now I have to start working. So that was like a really tough thing for me at the beginning. And I was really burning myself out on both ends, like just constantly. I was either with Sasha or I was working and I wasn't giving myself any time to just be, which you get a little bit more. I mean, I don't want to say you get more of if you're working full time, but because it depends on, as a mother, I'm sure that moms who work full time don't feel like they get more them time than I do. So that was like kind of a learning process for me at the beginning, was being able to figure out how to take some me time to like recharge and not just be constantly either mothering or working and nothing else at all. And that was tough.
What was the order kind of things that that transpired, like this journey of Saturday Table? Like, was it did Sasha come first? And
No,
then
I started Saturday Table, I think at this point it's almost 4 years ago. It was right before the pandemic. And I just like randomly started to post food and like what I was cooking. I wasn't like developing recipes per se. I was just like, this is what I'm cooking. Here's how I did it. And it was something I wanted to do for a really long time. I always loved following food creators. I remember like even like back in the day, there's this one like blogger, I wouldn't even call her a content creator, called Mimi Thorson. I don't know if you guys know who she is. She's like in France in the countryside, like gorgeous, big family. Her husband takes these
Oh,
beautiful
yes, I
photos of
know who
her.
you're talking
Yeah.
about.
And I like wanted her life, and like I loved that she was like sharing this food, and I was like, I want to figure out a way to do that. And it was something that I just never started doing, which sounds so silly because like it's just literally starting an Instagram account. But I started that like right before the pandemic, and I had Sasha in April of 2021. So it was like about a year later, probably. Really? Yeah. About a year later. And yeah, so Saturday Table came first.
So Megan, Christina, and I all worked corporate jobs at one point, still do in certain capacities. So what was that like moment for you where you're like, there is that like decision making, like game time decision that you have to make where it's like, okay, I have to decide what I want to do. I'm going to take, and it takes guts
Yeah.
to then jump into freelancing. What was that moment like for you? And like, where was your mind space at? Like, was it like a natural progression into what you're doing now? Or was it like, okay, I'm going to like just on a count of three, jump into the deep end and then figure out how I'm going to manage?
It was more the second one. I never imagined that I would quit my job to take care of my kid. My mom did that, and I always like felt like she wished, I don't want to say she wished she hadn't, because she obviously loved the time that she spent with us, but I think that, as you get older and then your kids get older and you start to look for things to do, maybe you can't do what you used to do. And I always used to just be like, I'm not going to do that. So when I decided to do that, it was kind of just like oh, fuck, like, is this like, I was like, I don't know if this is the right decision. It was kind of a financial one because a nanny is super expensive and I didn't feel comfortable sending a 3-month-old to daycare. I don't actually know if daycares take 3-month-olds. I think you have to find
Mm.
specific ones that do.
Mm-hmm.
And nannies in LA are like $30 an hour, $25 an hour, which I totally believe they should be paid that much, but like that's so much money. It was a huge chunk of my salary. And Dennis and I kind of sat down and talked about it. And I was like, well, if I take care of Sasha and I start freelancing, which is something I had always loved the idea of, but never thought I could seriously do, um,
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of try to make up, the portion of my salary that I would be quote unquote keeping after paying for a nanny. I could make that freelancing. And so I was like, let's just give this a try. And so we did, and it was scary for sure. Like it was something that just happened within like a few days that we started talking about it. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, well, I'm supposed to go back to work next week. So I guess I should tell my boss. And yeah, I just like jumped right in and quit my job and
Oh my
started
God.
looking for freelance clients. And I had already been taking care of Sasha, on maternity leave. So that was already doing that. And yeah.
I remember, I think I like kind of remember the conversations we had like
Hmm.
right at that point where
Yeah.
you were getting ready to figure out if you wanted to go back into work or, take care of Sush. And so yeah, that part, the fear around that I think is so real. Obviously I'm not a
Hmm.
mother, but I could imagine, and kind of sitting with you, I remember those
Yeah.
conversations. In relation to like that fear, do you feel like you felt either pressure or like judgment, whether internal or like societal,
Hmm.
on the direction you took or were gonna
Yeah.
take, or all of the things?
I definitely felt judgmental of myself because, like I said, it was not something I ever wanted to do. And I felt this like kind of guilt about doing it. I mean,
Mhm.
like, we're not like, it's a big loss to lose that, like to split our income in half. And so there was this fear of that, and I was kind of like judging myself, like, am I just like, why do I want to why do I want to stay home? Am I like, do I just not want to go back to work? Like, do I want to take care of her? Like, and it was
Mm.
like I wanted to be the one who was taking care of her. That was kind of what it boiled down to, finances aside. From people, no one ever spoke to me. Like, I never felt judged by anybody that I told. Most of my friends, I only had one friend at the time that was a mom. And when I told her, she was super supportive and kind of was like it almost made her wish that she talked about maybe I should do that.
Mm.
Like, she started to see like my side of it. And from my friends who weren't moms, if they judged me, they never like said anything to me. I didn't go out of my way to tell people. I'll say that much. It was
Yeah.
kind of like if we were
Mm.
having a conversation and it came up, then I would tell them. But I guess I felt a little bit of fear of that judgment, and I didn't want to just be like, I quit my job to take care of my kid, because I don't know, it felt like such a
It's so weird how we
privileged thing to
feel
do.
that though. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess the privilege
Yeah.
plays into it too. But it's, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's your time and your energy,
Hmm.
that you are spending to take care of your child versus,
Yeah.
paying for childcare. But yeah, it is so
Hmm.
interesting that that happens
Yeah.
because I know a lot
I
of
was definitely
people.
afraid of what people would think.
Yeah. Like I just even notice just, in the corporate world, it's not like very common, but like you do notice there are women who just like a lot of women don't get to like higher positions, or there aren't as many women in higher positions. So that like gap is like so frustrating. Um
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. But it's also, I think, um like just understanding it's like just it's just different things. It's not like moving up in your career in like a corporate
Mhm.
world is like it's like we act like that is the normal or main thing, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's something I think about a lot. Like, where would I be right now had I stayed in my job? What title would I have? How much money
Mhm.
would I be making? Would I be happy? Would I still be at the same company? Would I be at a different company? Would I be doing something completely different? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think about that like from time to time. And sometimes I feel like I'm like mourning that person that I always thought I would be, who like got to, within the marketing agency world, like maybe creative director at this point or something like that. But then at the same time, I'm always like, I think back on the last few years and I feel like I would not trade the time that I spent with her for the world. If that means that I'm never going to be a agency copywriter again, like good riddance, goodbye. Like I guess the fact that I wasn't super passionate about what I was doing probably did play a role into it a little bit. I think if I was like, I love my job, like I love what I'm doing, it would have
That's
been a little
true.
bit harder, but I was kind of just like, it was a job and I was good at it. I enjoyed my coworkers, my company. It wasn't there was no like huge workplace drama or anything that I was like trying to get away of. It was just, it was what it was. But I do sometimes still like think about that, like that person that I could have been versus the person in an alternate universe,
Yeah.
me who chose to like go back to work and hired a nanny, and like what life that person lives versus me now.
I can completely relate to that. It's just those like
Hmm.
promotions, being a part of this like cycle of like you stay in this role for this many
Hmm.
years and then you get bumped up and it's that track that you follow.
Yep.
Um, but then to let go of that and then choose your own path and be like, that's just all like this system that you can either get sucked into or like pull away from and then build your own world, which I think is also like so brave and stressful
Hmm.
and but also like very rewarding, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This sounds like really cheesy, but I feel like the end of last year, but also like this year, like the theme kind of in my life, the right answer is the answer you choose.
Hmm.
Or like the right decision is the decision you choose. Like truly, because and again, I don't know, maybe it's a coping mechanism, maybe it's better that you think that the decision you made was the correct one.
Hmm.
But I think that's just so true. Like, sure, there are the what ifs of, oh, like, what if I did this and that and whatever, but like, does that actually serve you? Like, the
Hmm.
thing that serves you is like where you're headed and going now. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, like, and to tie it, it's like, you Rita wouldn't change it for the world, and I'm sure
Hmm.
Sush would also
Hmm.
like 1000% agree if she had the capacity to at 3 months be like, yeah, I would have loved my mom to change my diaper and not this random
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah.
And again, like, no,
No, no, no.
no,
I know.
no,
I
no
know.
hate,
I
no
know.
shame to people that do, like,
Yeah.
great, but it's also like, yeah,
I don't
I
think
think
one
it
is
was
like better than the other.
Mhm.
It's just
correct.
Yeah.
whatever's best for you. And I totally agree that like whatever decision you make,
Yeah.
like is what's like, your life best.
I agree because like you have all of the information in front of you, right? And it's you're gonna pick what you value the most,
Hmm.
based off of that set of information. And that was like spending time with your daughter and
Hmm.
also having more flexibility in your career. And it it's like that's the right decision for you,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is really great. Did have one last question in this round, which is Rita, do you remember that moment when you like closed your laptop for the last time and like how you celebrated and like what you ate?
Oh my God. I don't remember what I ate, which is really weird because I usually remember what I eat, but I remember that I think I made a martini.
That's why you
I,
don't
I like
remember.
feel like I
Yeah.
remember there being a
Wow.
Yeah.
martini. I feel like I remember holding, and I actually wrote in my calendar like quitting anniversary and like
Ah.
set it to
Oh.
Mm.
repeat every year
What
because
day
I
is
just
it?
kind of like I have to look at sometime in August because I was supposed to go
Mhm.
back in late August and like because I kind of just felt like despite all of the apprehension and it was super scary, to your point, Megan, like it felt like once I made that decision I was like the decision. Like this was the right decision. And it felt like this weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. Like, okay, I don't have to interview these like 50 random women who answered my nanny ad. Like I don't have to like figure out how like we're going to have an extra person in this house for 10 hours a day while Dennis and I are both working from home because it was still COVID time. Like I don't have to figure out like any of this stuff. And I don't have to figure out how to be apart from my daughter for like 8 or 10 hours a day. Like I can just be with her. And like, it like just was like this feeling of like, okay, this is like the right feeling. And I remember like putting it in my calendar and being really happy about it and like happy about the idea that like in a year it would like say quitting day. And I was like, oh, that was the anniversary of when I like started this next chapter of my life. Although you would think the birth of my daughter was the next chapter of my life, but no. And I like, yeah, I think I made like a martini, even though it was probably around what time of day this is, but I was on very extended maternity leave at that point, a never-ending maternity leave.
I love it.
I made myself a martini.
Love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good question. Good question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
Let's
that.
good question.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. In samcha, I guess we could talk a little bit about like we can start by talking a little bit about motherhood.
Okay.
Because Rita, you are the only mother in this group right now.
Christina's a mother to a dog, but
so,
not a human.
Correct. Correct. Not a human. Very different.
Very different.
But yeah, I kind of like wanted to ask about just challenges in the transition. Obviously I was like kind of there for it a little bit. And I kind of saw you like becoming the cool mom. Like Rita really is the cool mom, you know, like
She's
the Mean
like
Girls
other
cool mom.
moms.
Like she really is. No, she's definitely.
Yeah, I'm like,
cool mom. She's
Sasha,
not
do you want a
wearing-
drink?
Yeah, exactly. I have so many photos where it's like a drink in one hand and then sushi in the other.
I don't know if that's like a good thing.
Thing to share. No, but I love that. And so yeah, like will you talk a little bit about like if there were any challenges, obviously, what you'd like to share in terms of transition and just like maintaining Rita and like maintaining Dennis, or like maintaining Rita and Dennis. Dennis is Rita's husband.
Yeah, Dennis is my man. Being a mother did not feel like a natural thing to me. I will say that. Like I felt an immediate like insane love for her and like need to protect her, but like mothering was just not, it didn't feel natural to me. It was really hard transition. I definitely had what was diagnosed as baby blues, which is like mini postpartum depression. Like a lot of women have baby blues, and then that's like literally what my doctor called it. And then after a certain point, they diagnosed it as postpartum depression. And I think that I just perhaps was not either forthcoming enough in how I was feeling. I think at the time I definitely noticed a shift and I was starting to feel better after 6 or 8 weeks. And so it felt so good. Like, oh my God, like I don't feel like I'm going to cry at the drop of a hat and like hate my life and like, you know, but I definitely didn't feel great. And I don't think that I was getting maybe the mental help that I needed. And it was a really hard transition for me. I just was like, I think I ruined my life and holy shit, like what am I going to do? But that obviously changed as time went on, and you kind of just, I learned to, I don't want to say I learned to do anything, but those feelings of hopelessness kind of, they went away eventually. And motherhood definitely has a lot of challenges, and keeping a version of yourself that's not like totally tied to motherhood sometimes feels really difficult to me, especially I think being a stay-at-home mom. You know, she's my like literal world my whole life. And I know that every mom, it feels that is the case for every mom, but like, it's like, you know, so many of my days revolved around her. I would say it wasn't even until like recently that I was really starting to feel like me, like how I used to feel, like just this like lighthearted, like confidence and joyfulness. And, it took a really, really long time. to feel that way, but I'm really lucky because Dennis is super supportive, and if he needs time to go and like just be alone, like I give him that and vice versa. And he's always encouraging me to go out and like do things, like whether I'm going alone, he's like, go on a trip, like go to the spa, go do whatever, like go on a walk, like you things that like I love to go on walks, and he's like, go on a walk, like I know that you love that, and he's very supportive of that, and so I feel really lucky in that case, or in that sense. But yeah, it's really hard to keep your identity as a mom because you just become totally kid focused.
Mm. Something that I really appreciate still to this day, is that I a lot of moms, maybe whether it be like out of guilt or out of like fear of judgment or whatever, won't really talk about challenges. Like they'll glaze over it. Like of course it's, everyone, like you don't have to have a baby to know that it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I think something that I really appreciated about you was like at the beginning, and again even now, like you're very open and honest about the challenges, and like the way that you felt,
Mm.
and the way that like the challenges of the transition.
Yeah.
And I feel like not a lot of people talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about it to maybe like the extent that you do. So I think that that's been really like eye-opening from some like a third party,
Mm-hmm.
witnessing it, and that's been really nice,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of a better term. It's just been like very open,
Yeah.
and like a very honest look at what motherhood may or may not look
Yeah.
like for me
I agree. I feel
if I
like I
do.
never heard anybody say too many bad things about becoming a mom. Obviously everyone's like, oh, I'm so tired, and like the sleep deprivation is real, and like breastfeeding is hard, breastfeeding isn't that hard, whatever. But like I never heard anybody talk about the mental load of it
Mm-hmm.
outside of like, being sleep deprived
Mm,
obviously makes it way worse. And so I felt like I always talk about that with my friends, especially like because like Megan, you'll kind of sometimes be like, I don't know, is that something I want to do? I don't know. I don't know. If you don't want that to be in the show, you can cut
yeah.
it out.
No, no, no.
And like, and I'll be like, well, like it's the best thing that ever happened to me, but for a little bit, it felt like the worst thing that ever happened to me. And like,
Yeah.
it's
Mm.
definitely hard, but not everybody has my experience. And I always say that to you too. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
don't
true.
think that everybody has my
Yeah.
experience. I think that everyone's experience is totally different. But yeah, it was hard for me. Like I didn't like feel bonded to her for a while. I was like, hey, I love
Mm.
you and I want to make sure that you're safe, but like, oof, like, it's just
Why do
like
you keep
so
pooping?
like
Like, oh
weird.
my
Like,
gosh, just stop.
Yeah.
yeah, I know. Like, please go to sleep for the love of God.
How about also your relationship with Dennis? Like, how did that,
Mm.
just
Mm.
evolve, or like just what was that
Um,
like?
it's, you know, seeing the person that you love, man or woman, become a parent is one of the like best feelings in the world. And just seeing how much he loves her and he cares about her and how he takes care of her and all of that is just like makes me fall in love with him more. But then like on the other end of the spectrum, like when you're co-parenting, it's like you're never going to be on the same page, and there's going to be a lot of times where he and I disagree on what to do in a specific situation, what to do in general, like in terms of, I don't know, when she was younger, like I wanted to get her on a schedule because I was desperate. I was at home with her and I was desperate to have her like sleeping on a schedule. And he was just like, whenever I would leave her with him, he was so like laissez faire. Like if she didn't fall asleep, she didn't fall asleep, but then she's so cranky and I would get so frustrated. And like, he was just like, she's a baby, like she shouldn't be on a schedule, like blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, like I'm the one who's fucking home with her all the time and I need her to be on a fucking schedule so I don't kill myself.
Yeah.
and like eventually we got her on a schedule thanks to me, of course, not. And and then he was like, well, thank God we like, he'll be like to everybody like, thank God she's on schedule, like wow, like it just makes life so much easier. And I'm like, yeah,
Like, no shit.
it's like stuff like that, like like that. It's just like annoying. It's hard to co-parent for sure, like when
Mhm.
there's so many instances where we're just like on totally opposite ends of the spectrum and stuff. And like it's so hard to like give, like even yesterday, last night, I was, because it was raining so much yesterday, I took her to Target. She loves going to Target. She gets cake pops. I get Starbucks. We walk around. It's so much fun. She hides in between like the clothes.
Oh.
And I was saying how like she picked up a pack of like boys' underwear and like wouldn't put it down. And I was like trying to get her to give it back to me, and she was like running away from me. And I said she was running far. Like I meant like, I don't know, 15 feet. And he was just like, don't let her run away from you in Target, because like you hear all these stories about like
Oh yeah.
child
There's like
kidnapping in Target.
kidnappers.
And
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
I don't let her run away from me in Target. And it's just like, you know, it was just like immediately triggered. Like I was like, I don't let her run away from me in Target, even though I was like, God, she was getting so far from me. Like I just like was like, ugh, like don't tell me how to parent. And like I know I see that reaction in him sometimes too, where I'm like, well, you know, they say that he doesn't like when I'm like they say, because he's like, who's they? Like,
Who's
are you
they?
reading an article? Are you reading a book?
Watching
Are you watching TikTok?
Yeah.
And so it's definitely tough, but like overall, I think it's just made us closer, because even those instances where there's a disagreement that we never end up coming to an agreement on, like it's just, you know, we're in it together and we have this like shared struggle, for lack of a better word. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's, our relationship is better for sure.
Oh, you and Denny.
Me and Denny.
So cute.
That's really encouraging, because I sometimes, I guess my Roman Empire is like, what would my life be like if I woke up with a child that I had to like brush and wash and feed
Are you describing a
and
dog?
Wait, is this a dog?
cook for?
Brush
No,
and
like
walk and
Spoons
feed?
is like self, you know, like brush, you have to
Yeah.
like brush their teeth, you
Oh my
have to
God,
like
yeah,
get
you
them
do.
dressed. If they
Yeah.
don't like their clothes, then they'll throw a fit. And then if
They
they're in
will.
like a certain mood, you have to manage that too. Like
It
you
still
have to
sounds like a
decide.
dog.
Spoons is the best dog in the world. So I have like no trouble with him, but I think about like very often when I'm like navigating my morning and I like want to sleep in, or I want to do whatever I want to do, like go for a walk and get coffee and just like be alone. I think about what, like how these dynamics will change once I have a kid.
Yeah.
And I really do like believe that my life will be flipped like inside out, upside down. But I think it's really encouraging to hear you talk about it, where it's like you do keep it real. You're not like sweeping stuff under the rug, saying it's all like I am in under the special glow of motherhood, but it's like actually there's all these things that I'm dealing with as like a real human being working in a partnership, as a mom, as myself. And you're still doing it, and like you carry this light about it where it's like I do believe that my partnership is better because we have the shared struggle, because we both share love for our daughter. And I also added more onto my life, but it's like all the more better because of it, because of her. So I think that's like enlightening to hear. And I love to hear more of these like stories, or just like, what is it actually like? Like, keep it real. What is it like to be a mom? And like, how do you like, do you also like have a good support system? Like, do you go to your mom for advice? Do you go to therapy? Do you have a good network of girlfriends to just, because I know that like you can only go so far with like venting out your frustrations or like communicating with Dennis, but it's like, who do you rely on to make sure that like you're being heard and that like you're troubleshooting your day to day?
Yeah. I have a girlfriend who has kids also, and we definitely will like chat. A lot of our like text conversation is just like complaining about our husbands, like in just like little like things like that. Like I just like, you know, told you about like Dennis
Love
is
it.
so annoying. Like he told me not to like this wasn't something I texted. Like I brushed it off once it happened. But like he told me not to let Sasha run away from me in Target. As if I'm gonna fucking let my kid run away, you know, like. And it's just like having someone to say that stuff to, instead of like keeping it inside, and having like someone, even if they're just like busy and just like being like, oh yeah, so annoying, is just like, yeah, it is annoying. Like you're right. Like we are on the, like, you know, And that's really nice. I have a couple of friends who have kids and we'll chat about it every now and then. My mom and I, like, I'll definitely go to her for advice. And um, I don't go to therapy right now, although I should be. That would
This
be
is
nice.
therapy.
This kind of does feel like
Yeah.
therapy
Even
a
before
little bit.
therapy. Yeah. They say like before therapy, we had our friends, we had our community. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do feel like I have like I'll go to Megan and like tell her about stuff, and like when Megan and I go out for like our twice a year dinners because we live not in the same city, we'll like I feel like I spend the whole time just like telling her stories and like bitching about stuff, and like just it just feels good to like talk to a friend and have them like even if they don't agree with you, be like, you're so right. Like that is so true. Your kid is a genius. I think
The
that
validation.
To Christine, what you said earlier about like hearing about all the good things and like all the joy and the light, I will say I think Reed, I don't know that many moms like that are our age
Mhm.
yet. I feel like yeah, around me, like I don't have that many mom friends, but I would say that from the mom friends that I know, I feel like Rita, and I would also like include Dennis in this, like you guys are the least like quote unquote mom and daddy feel
Mhm.
of the mom and dads that I know. So like what I mean by that is like I feel like you don't really let Sush like you haven't really let Sush like quote unquote ruin your life or like
Mhm.
completely stop you guys
Yeah.
going out or like you guys going to have a drink or like whatever or traveling like taking sushi on this like 3 month
Mhm.
journey through Europe or whatever. Like I feel like a lot of other moms and dads, again, no hate no shame, but like they do let things kind of like stop them in their they do let their children kind of stop them in their
Yeah.
tracks. And I feel like you and Dennis, I'm sure have in certain ways,
Mhm.
but also I feel like you haven't, which is a really kind of awesome thing to see for someone who doesn't have a kid and sometimes feels like, oh my god, if I had a kid I'd never be able to do that, or like,
Yeah.
oh man, like I wake up and like have wine at 1 p.m. and I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do that, but like here we are,
Mhm.
so yeah. Rita just choosing her margarita. um so I feel like you gave it's really interesting kind of actually reflecting on this right now is like you've given me at least this very like real idea of like what motherhood might look like.
Mhm.
That's very different from others. One, because you're like very honest with the certain things that you
Mhm.
feel, and two, you haven't let Sush like completely take over
Yeah.
Rita or like Rita and Dennis's
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, in a way that I feel like is really awesome to like witness.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like it was like I think we thought we would have more help from like family members in the beginning, like
mm,
more pitching in, just like watching her so we could go out and stuff like that. And when we realized that we really weren't, it was kind of like, well, we still like to go out and have, go to happy hour and have a glass of wine or go out to dinner together. And it was just like, well, how do we it wasn't even like a conversation or a thought. It was just we started just bringing her, and like when she was younger, it was just as easy as having like a couple toys and like giving her like, some of like little food things like applesauce and crackers and stuff that she liked. And as she's gotten older, it's more evolved into like, we give her one of our phones and she watches whatever weird YouTube ASMR they make for toddlers. And like we've just kind of, and we have talked about that like I would rather that for, an hour or two while we're at dinner, she watches YouTube, and she's super happy about that. She gets chicken nuggets wherever we go and French fries, and like if we'll get her a juice now, which she's like pumped about. And like we get to like sit and have like an adult conversation and enjoy ourselves. And it feels like a good trade-off. And I know a lot of parents are like very, they feel very strongly about screen time one way or the other, but like for us, it's just worked. And even like we just started doing it, and like it kind of evolved into like we kept doing it as she got older. And I'm really glad that we did, because like that's something that we loved. I love what's something that I love doing, like eating, like and drinking. Like I love to like have a really nice meal with a cocktail, and like I can't wait to like I don't want to only do that once every 6 months when someone comes and watches her. I want to like be able to do that, once every other week or whenever, however often it is that we go out to dinner. And she loves going out to dinner, so that's great. And I think that's because we've been doing it since she was super little. But
Yeah.
it's fun to take her out. I like it. And
So cute.
You're breeding like the next generation of foodies too, with, like
oh yeah, like literally all she eats is chicken nuggets. So I very much disagree on that.
she's gonna be a chicken nugget connoisseur. She's gonna know all the different, like the best spots for chicken tendies.
No, I got like a new brand of chicken nuggets, and I was like, these are new ones. Do you like them? And she was like, yeah, they're delicious. And like for like a week afterwards, every time she ate them, which is like once a day or once every other day, she's like, I really like these new chicken nuggets, Mom. These are really good chicken nuggets. And I'm like, okay, noted. Like she's like, so maybe you're right.
The sommelier for chicken nuggets.
So good.
Yeah.
Traveling with her was really hard. I will say that much.
Was like the jet lag
I don't know
the
if I-
hardest
How old
part?
was she?
It was a year ago. We left in January of last year, so she was almost 2. She was like 3 months shy of 2. And yeah, it was hard. It was hard because of the stage that she was in. She was like starting to have big emotions, but didn't have the vocabulary or the ability really to communicate about them. So there was like a lot of public meltdowns, which
Mm.
it feels like extra hard when you're in a country where you don't speak the language and you're like in a non-touristy area during the off season, and you feel like everyone's like staring at you. But at the same time, Italy was a great place to do that because they love kids. So they were just like, it's okay, kids cry, whatever. Yeah.
So to kind of round out samcha and our time with you, Rita, wanted to ask, like, what are things that kind of bring you joy personally right now, and also like to share anything that you have kind of going on.
What brings me joy? Okay. Cooking always brings me joy, like being in the kitchen and like experimenting and cooking for the people I love. My family, my like Sasha and Dennis are just like, I can always count on them to put a smile on my face. That sounds so cheesy. Sorry.
But it's true.
Oh, it's so sweet. It's so sweet.
No, like I just, like watching Sasha grow up and just like doing this with Dennis is like something that it feels like something I always dreamed about, like having this family. And yeah, and then like something that recently brings me joy is I feel like I've gotten super into reading again, and I'm just like reading like novel after novel after novel, and I'm like super excited. Like at night I crawl into bed to read, and I just feel really like happy about it.
Ooh, what are you reading right now?
Love that.
I just finished a book called The Rachel Incident, and it's set, I think the main character is supposed to be like about our age, but it's set about like when we were in our early 20s in Ireland, and there's it just feels very relatable. It's like this young girl who just like doesn't really have her shit together, and she's like dating and like living with her best friend and just like navigating being like a young woman coming of age, and like a lot of it is like not a lot of it, but it gives a lot of insight into Ireland at the time and their abortion debate. And I think that it was outlawed at that time and now it's not. And like kind of a little bit of insight into that, which is interesting because there's a lot of parallels between America, obviously, currently. Yeah, so I've just been reading a lot, which is fun. And anything new going on in my life is I have kind of recommitted myself to my Substack newsletter, which I launched last summer. And I was not really sticking to a schedule. I was very like laissez-faire about like I'll send out recipes every now and then. Really recommitting myself to that. I'm going to be sending out one recipe a week on Substack every Saturday, and kind of really trying to make them as helpful as possible. And my whole philosophy when it comes to cooking is that I think of my like cooking style as everyday elevated, which is like something that you would cook on a Wednesday or any night of the week that's easy enough to cook on a weeknight, but might feel special enough that if someone was to come over on a Saturday, you would want to make it. And like it just doesn't, sometimes that includes like pre-made stuff. Sometimes you make it from scratch. It's usually pretty easy. And I'm like really recommitting to sharing those type of recipes along with that kind of ethos. And in going with that, I've asked my good friend Megan here to provide like once a month. She's going to be sharing wine recommendations to go along with my recipes, which I'm super excited about.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think it's going to be so fun.
I know it's going to be so much fun. It's like something that I've been wanting to do for a little while. Like I've wanted to get into producers, and then I've wanted to get into like pairings. And so when Rita asked, it was like perfect. So Miss Glue Glue and Saturday Table
collab
comes together.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love it.
I have one other question.
Yeah, go for
on
it.
top of that. I want our listeners, our 2 listeners, my mom, or 3 listeners, Christina's mom and Megan's mom, to dive right into your recipes. So if you were to be like, this is a very like go-to Saturday Table Rita recipe, what should people search for?
So if you go on my Instagram, I shared a recipe in probably November. It's chicken thighs over couscous, like pearl couscous. And it like so many people have made it. It's and said that they loved it. And it's like a super easy kind of like there's maybe about 20 minutes of active cooking time, and the rest is just like in the oven cooking. And it's like kind of I feel like my like ethos, like it's not just like chicken and rice. Like I use couscous instead, but you could use rice if you want. And like it's really delicious. There's like Dijon mustard and it's just so good. But like it's not like anything super complicated to make. Like as long as you have a pan that can go on a stove and a pan that can go on in the oven, like better if they're the same pan, but they don't need to be. Like you can easily cook this, and it's really like foolproof and good. So I would tell Oma Park to go cook that
one. She's gonna be like a couscous. Oh, so sweet. Well, thank you so much, Rita. Okay, should we do one last cheers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers to Rita.
Cheers.
Cheers to you guys.